Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we take the high-velocity headlines that rattle the culture and plunge straight into the source material. We don't just repeat the news.
Yep.
We extract the actionable knowledge, the surprising context, and, the profound implications.
And today we are navigating a really seismic shift in the world of reality television and entrepreneurship. We are diving deep into the high-profile divorce filing of Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker.
Mm-hmm.
This is a story that I think truly caught the public off guard. It's marking the end of an 11-year relationship that was built under the brightest and, let's be honest, often the harshest spotlight imaginable.
That's right. And for you, the listener, we have really stacked our sources for this one. We are working with highly detailed information that goes far beyond just a press release.
Oh, yeah.
We have the official filing announcement, of course, but also this rich contextual documentation about their history, their intricate blended family structure, their multi-million-dollar business empire. And critically, the stark, almost unbelievable contradiction between their recent public behavior and this private decision to separate.
And our mission in this deep dive is to move past that initial shock and really explore the substance of it all. We need to examine the specific dates, the direct quotes, the professional collaborations, and, the family conflicts they supposedly overcame.
Exactly.
We want to understand the complexities of this transition, not just as another celebrity divorce, but as the dissolution of a partnership that was fundamentally entangled across every single aspect of their lives, from their bank accounts to their content streams.
And when you say entangled, that is just the perfect word. I mean, we have to start right there at the headline because the timeline is the most immediate, compelling piece of evidence.
It really is.
The divorce filing came just days after one of the biggest, most public validations their marriage ever received. It's an almost profound disconnect between the narrative they were presenting to the world, one of conquering all odds, and the private reality they were actually living.
It creates this essential mystery for us to explore. How can a relationship survive a decade of the most intense public and familial scrutiny, build an empire together, receive a major public award, and then dissolve almost instantaneously?
Yeah.
It really challenges our perception of what resilience even means in the context of a celebrity marriage.
Absolutely. Okay, let's unpack this and jump right into the immediate context.
So let's establish the foundational facts from our source material first.
Yeah.
Kandi Burruss, age 49, filed for divorce from Todd Tucker, who was 52, after 11 years of marriage.
Right.
The filing occurred on a Friday, making the news official and kicking off the legal process to end a relationship that began all the way back in 2011 on the set of the Real Housewives of Atlanta.
And the statement Kandi released to People magazine is highly specific. It suggests a very carefully managed narrative for this public transition. She clearly stated that this is a difficult and emotional time, one that was reached only after deep thought and a lot of prayer. So this isn't some quick decision, right?
Yeah.
The language implies a lengthy private struggle that finally culminated in this public choice.
It absolutely signals a measured process. But beyond the emotional context, the statement is, I think, highly focused on future strategy. It outlines three sort of non-negotiable priorities for this transition period. It's almost like a manifesto for her new chapter.
Okay, what are they?
First, protecting my peace. Second, being the best mother I can be. And third, and this is critical, co-parenting with love and respect.
The prioritizing of peace, her peace, above all else, is so telling, isn't it? Especially for a personality who has lived in a state of high drama, high-stakes exposure for more than a decade.
Yeah.
It suggests an exhaustion with conflict and a desire for a radical shift in her emotional landscape.
And this feeds directly into the larger narrative she's presenting, a proactive, controlled move into a new chapter pouring into my work, my family, and my own growth.
Right.
Our sources even provide the detail of her recent weight loss transformation, which, while personal, publicly reinforces this idea of a comprehensive life overhaul. It's not just a professional or relational change. It's a physical and strategic reinvention that was happening before the filing.
You're right. It reads like she decided to reorganize her entire self. But the real friction point, the area that requires the most immediate analysis, is the timing of this announcement relative to their most recent public appearance.
Oh, yeah.
We have to dedicate substantial time to what we're calling the BravoCon 2025 paradox.
Indeed. The divorce announcement dropped mere days after Burruss received one of the most significant public tributes of her career, the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Bravos during BravoCon 2025. This was in Las Vegas on November 14th.
So this is a moment of peak public triumph, a celebration of her success and her survival in that whole reality ecosystem.
And this wasn't an award just for her personal success, right? The award itself and her acceptance speech explicitly centered her marriage and Todd's role in their shared journey.
The whole world was watching her pay tribute to him. It's wild.
Let's zero in on the exact quote because it is the linchpin of this entire contradiction. Addressing Todd directly from the stage, she publicly declared, "To Todd, thank you for surviving the blogs, the shade, the rumors, the lies, the truth, the almost fights, the actual fights, the reunions."
Wow.
And then she says, "You earned this award too."
That speech is absolutely stunning in retrospect. I mean, she wasn't just thanking him, she was testifying to his endurance. She summarized a decade of televised public warfare, the rumors, the fights, the scrutiny, and presented him as the definitive co-survivor.
Right.
She was validating his place right beside her in that moment of peak industry recognition.
The psychological complexity of that moment just cannot be overstated. We have to consider several alternative interpretations here, like, was that speech a highly sophisticated act of compartmentalization, where the public figure delivered the required tribute while the private individual was already firming up the separation decision?
That's one possibility. Or, and I wonder about this, was it perhaps a final, heartbreaking attempt at public affirmation? A Hail Mary pass where she hoped, by declaring their survival so definitively on the biggest stage possible, she could somehow reconcile the private turmoil.
That's a fascinating counterpoint.
Yeah.
Because if the relationship was already terminal, delivering that speech might have been Kandi's way of giving Todd the highest honor, acknowledging the sheer effort and pain he endured for their union before ending it.
So like a parting gift almost.
Exactly. It serves as a final, comprehensive public acknowledgement of his worth as a partner, even if the partnership itself was ending.
But I wonder if it could also have been the moment of absolute clarity for her, you know? She's standing on that stage, receiving an award that essentially celebrates the survival of her housewife's life and its major components, including Todd. Perhaps seeing the final product of their shared public trauma, a gold statue and a cheering crowd, made her realize that the reward wasn't worth the cost. That survival was no longer the goal. Self-actualization was.
That's a powerful insight. The act of reaching the finish line of external validation might have just highlighted the internal emptiness or stagnation that the relationship had reached.
Yeah.
The external battlefield, the blogs, the rumors, the fights, that was all conquered. But the internal partnership had already suffered irreparable damage.
And that contrast is only sharpened when we look at their social media history. We're not talking about separation months or years ago. Their last posts were just about a month before the filing, on October 8th.
Right.
And we see the classic, smiling, highly curated family image from an apple-picking trip.
The captions just reinforce the happy domesticity. Kenny sharing pictures of the field dripping with at Asa Tucker and at Blaze Tucker, and Todd's post. "I hope these little apples don't fall far to the tree. Had so much fun with it, Asa Tucker and at Blaze Tucker at the apple patch."
It's a perfect snapshot of a unified, functional family unit.
So you had the apple-picking family portrait in early October.
The profound declaration of mutual survival in mid-November.
And then the legal separation just a few days later. It paints a picture of extreme compartmentalization.
Totally.
It suggests a decision that, while perhaps long considered, was executed rapidly and with immense privacy once that final choice was made.
It forces you, the listener, and anyone following their story to acknowledge that even in the most overexposed relationships in reality television, the deepest, most critical life changes happen entirely shielded from public view.
Right up until the point of filing.
Exactly. The gap between their public narrative and their private reality in that 4-week window is one of the most profound takeaways from this entire event.
For sure.
So to truly understand the gravity of this separation, we have to rewind and trace the trajectory of their relationship, because their beginnings were so intrinsically linked to the career structure Kandi is now choosing to exit.
This was not a standard celebrity meeting at all. Their origin story is professional. They met back in 2011 during season 4 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta.
And at that time, Kandi was already a veteran of the show, a major star who joined in season 2 in 2009. She was a successful businesswoman, a single mother to her daughter, Riley.
And Todd Tucker's role was crucial. He was working behind the scenes as a production manager. This professional distinction is so critical because it means their initial bond was forged in a shared workplace environment.
Right.
Navigating the operational demands and the chaotic energy of reality TV production rather than just meeting socially. That foundation of shared understanding of the industry became the bedrock of their subsequent business partnership.
That unique dynamic, a star marrying a behind-the-scenes professional, it really set the stage for their entire approach to business. They understood the mechanics of the machine they were a part of.
Mm-hmm.
After meeting, things moved pretty quickly, at least by the public timeline. They were engaged in January 2013 and married in a lavish wedding in April 2014.
And this is so important. The entire courtship, the engagement, and the early years of the marriage were all captured, analyzed, and often manipulated for television content.
Yeah.
Their relationship was battle-tested from day one under that reality TV framework.
And for nearly a decade, they successfully cultivated this image of the resilient power couple. I mean, we have the source material of their past public declarations, which reinforces how shocking this news truly is. Let's just look at their 8th wedding anniversary in March 2022.
These anniversary posts were declarations of permanence. They really suggest they had truly transcended the reality TV curse. Kandi's quote was emphatic. She wrote, "We've got that forever kind of love. You are the perfect man for me. I'm a better me with you. Night years down and a lifetime to go."
A lifetime to go. And Todd fully mirrored that sentiment. He wrote, "We have a forever kind of love. I look forward to our future and a lifetime sick of love. Happy anniversary to my amazing wife at Kandi. I love you."
When you contrast those statements from just 2 years ago, promising a lifetime to go, with the recent filing, it forces a realization that the internal landscape of the relationship must have deteriorated incredibly rapidly. Or that the weight of managing their extensive external commitments just became too much to sustain the personal foundation.
It makes you wonder how painful it must be to look back at that kind of publicly declared commitment, a commitment tied to their brand and their content, knowing that the lifetime only lasted 2 more years.
And the complexity of the separation is, it's geometrically increased by the structure of their shared family. When Kandi states she is prioritizing co-parenting with love and respect, she's referencing a significant blended unit involving 4 children across a really wide age range.
Okay, let's break down that family structure because it's highly intricate. They share 2 biological children, their son Ace, who is 9 years old, and their daughter Blaze, who is 5, and she was welcomed via surrogate.
Right, so those are the 2 primary focus points for co-parenting agreements regarding custody and education.
But the influence of the separation stretches further. Burruss also has her adult daughter, Riley, who is 23, from her previous relationship with Russell Spencer.
And Riley's upbringing and financial support have been a recurring storyline on RHOA for years.
Exactly. And Tucker has his adult daughter, Kayla, who is 29. Kayla has also appeared on the show, and she and Riley, despite their age difference, have been featured as part of that blended unit.
And this is a crucial distinction. When a celebrity couple with young children separates, the focus is often on custody schedules. But in a blended family with adult children, the transition involves redefining long-standing family roles.
That's a great point.
Riley and Kyla have known Todd and Kandi as a partnership for over a decade. The separation means the dissolution of their shared step-parental environment, even if they are adults.
So the emphasis on love and respect in the co-parenting statement therefore takes on a much broader meaning. It's not just about scheduling time with Ace and Blaze.
Yeah.
It's about maintaining the fabric of an extended family where the adult children have established emotional and familial ties to their former step-parent.
Exactly. For the 2 young children, Ace and Blaze, the environment shifts completely. They have always seen their parents as unified both at home and at work, given their involvement in the family business reality shows.
Right.
The success of Kandi's new chapter will be judged heavily on how seamlessly she and Todd managed to maintain stability for those 2 very impressionable children while untangling their massive financial apparatus.
The blending of their families required immense communication and trust to begin with. The process of unblending, or rather redefining that family unit, it demands an even higher degree of conscious collaboration, which is often so difficult in the aftermath of a tough divorce decision.
Yeah.
It truly underscores the monumental personal task ahead of them, entirely separate from the financial division. Now, we transition from the personal structure to the professional one, because this is where the separation stops being just a relationship story and becomes a corporate dissolution. The bond between Kandi and Todd wasn't merely emotional. It was deeply interwoven across multiple high-stakes business ventures. And here's where it gets really interesting.
The word power couple needs to be understood in its literal financial sense here. They didn't just appear wealthy on TV. They actively built and managed operational businesses across diverse sectors. Their marriage was like a holding company.
Right. Our sources detail three specific major joint ventures, and we need to dissect the legal and operational complexity of each one because that is the true story of this divorce.
So let's start with their highest profile venture, the hospitality sector, the soul food restaurant chain in Georgia.
Okay, and operating a successful, scalable restaurant chain is incredibly labor-intensive. It requires massive management time, dealing with real estate leases, food supply chains, staffing, constant quality control. This isn't passive income.
Not at all. They were actively involved in running this business. And crucially, the restaurant chain is deeply tied to Kandi's brand. It benefits from her celebrity and the reality television spin-offs that feature it.
So when they separate, the ownership structure of the name, the intellectual property associated with the recipes, and the specific real estate holdings all have to be individually valued and divided.
And this is complicated because brand value is inherently subjective, right?
Yeah.
If Kandi takes control, the business retains her star power. But if Todd takes control, he loses the immediate benefit of her daily PR engine.
And if they sell it, they lose a significant piece of their shared legacy and, just as importantly, their content stream.
Now compare that complexity to the second business venture our sources detail, the trucking company. This is a massive operational and legal contrast to the soul food chain.
A trucking company is pure logistics and hard assets. We're talking about licensing, insurance, fleet management, drivers, maintenance schedules. It's a low-glamour, high-overhead industry entirely divorced from the glitz of Bravo.
Structurally, separating a trucking company involves valuing the tangible assets, the actual trucks, the real estate used for depots, the logistics contracts, and the business structure itself. This type of asset division is financially more straightforward in terms of valuation.
But operationally demanding.
Exactly. Especially if they both wish to retain a share or if one partner needs to take over the day-to-day management without the other's capital.
The existence of these two businesses side by side demonstrates an extremely diversified and ambitious partnership. They weren't content just to sell branded products, they were building lasting infrastructure outside the typical celebrity sphere.
And that leads us to the third, and maybe the most insidious entanglement, the content engine itself. They co-founded and appeared in a Bravo series, centered specifically on their family and the restaurant business, a direct RHOA spin-off or related project.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, the content engine is what monetized their private lives.
Right.
And the dissolution of this partnership directly threatens the viability of that content stream.
Absolutely. The business entities, the restaurants, were integrated into the content. The fights over staffing, the openings, the business strategy, all of that became narrative fuel for television. When the marriage ends, the primary narrative tension and source of cooperation also ends.
So the separation isn't just about dividing assets, it's about redefining or severing the intellectual property and the ongoing production agreements tied to their family story. I mean, who owns the rights to the past footage involving their children? Will one of them try to shop a future reality series focused on their individual life post-divorce?
This creates a unique legal bind. They have to untangle a financial structure that requires one of the entities to perpetually generate public interest and content. Unlike a simple business divorce, they can't just walk away and never interact.
No.
They are bound by the content they created together and the businesses that rely on their shared brand recognition.
I think we need to spend a moment dwelling on the sheer difficulty of this. We're talking about multiple, complex legal filings happening at the same time. The personal divorce filing and the business dissolution filings for a trucking company and a multi-location restaurant chain. That necessitates an ongoing professional relationship, even if the personal relationship is hostile.
The legal framework they are entering into demands cooperation under duress. They must transition from being content collaborators who are also married to being professional co-parents and co-owners who must negotiate the transfer or sale of massive assets.
All while maintaining a relatively peaceful public face, as Kandi stated she intends to do.
Which is, a monumental task. This complexity underscores why the divorce statement prioritized protecting my peace and pouring into my work. The amount of work required just to separate their professional entanglement is a full-time job in itself.
One that requires clear boundaries and a minimum of personal emotional drama to navigate successfully.
It's a huge undertaking.
Okay, so it is impossible to analyze the Kandi and Todd partnership without dedicating significant time to the colossal televised obstacle they faced from day one. Kandi's mother, Mama Joyce Jones.
This dynamic was so persistent, it became a defining character arc of their entire marriage.
Mama Joyce was not merely an opinionated mother-in-law. She was a consistently hostile, high-profile critic whose skepticism was given a massive platform on Bravo.
And the core of her grievance was singularly focused. She accused Todd Tucker of being an opportunist, only seeking to capitalize on Kandi's significant wealth.
Right. The label she famously used early in the relationship on the Bravo series was gold-digging opportunist.
That accusation set the narrative tone for years. It forced Todd to prove his financial legitimacy and his love against a backdrop of public suspicion fueled by his partner's own mother.
It created a situation where the relationship had to constantly defend its existence, not just to the viewers, but to Kandi's own inner circle. It's just brutal.
And what's remarkable is that this conflict was not resolved early in the marriage. Our sources confirm this tension continued to boil over publicly, demonstrating its enduring stress on the couple. We can look to BravoCon 2022.
Oh yeah, that moment.
At BravoCon 2022, years after their marriage, Mama Joyce publicly reignited the drama in a highly visible way by being unable to name even 3 nice things about Todd Tucker when asked directly.
And this wasn't a private family quarrel. It was a televised performance of rejection.
Absolutely. That moment shows how the internal family politics were constantly being remonetized and rebroadcast, forcing Kandi and Todd to constantly relitigate the integrity of their relationship for the world to see.
But the twist that makes this section so poignant and so essential to understanding the irony of the divorce timing is the subsequent journey to reconciliation.
Right.
Kandi detailed the resolution process at BravoCon 2023, just a year before she filed for divorce.
She was very candid about the true toll the 2022 incident took. She noted that Mama Joyce's public actions set it off in my household, indicating the tension moved beyond a TV storyline into genuine, home-shattering instability.
She described the domestic fallout in detail. Her mother and Todd were entirely distant. Todd, in a clear attempt to maintain peace and boundaries, would actively leave the house if Mama Joyce came over.
Wow.
Kandi summarized the environment simply, stating it was a whole mess. This demonstrates the profound toll the feud took on Todd's willingness to participate in the blended family dynamic.
And yet they achieved peace. Kandi reported that over the summer of 2023, Todd made a huge emotional step, announcing he had decided to let it go. This resolution involved actual communication and, importantly, Mama Joyce coming over to hang out with the kids, signifying a return to domestic harmony.
And this is the critical irony we must analyze. They successfully conquered the single biggest, most enduring external threat to their relationship, the public, televised suspicion fueled by Kandi's mother. Todd made the ultimate concession of forgiveness and reconciliation.
And the reward for surviving that decade-long public and private battle was
the divorce filing a year later. It forces us to ask, what happens when the relationship finally wins the war on the outside?
I mean, if we look at this through a psychological lens, the constant conflict with Mama Joyce provided a unifying force. It was Kandi and Todd against the world, or at least against Kandi's mom.
Right, a common enemy.
That shared opposition likely masked underlying fundamental incompatibilities that existed within the marriage itself.
So, perhaps, once that massive external energy drain was removed, once Todd and Mama Joyce found a détente and the domestic environment stabilized, the couple was finally forced to confront the private issues that had been simmering beneath the surface all along.
Issues that couldn't be blamed on the blogs, the shade, or the rumors.
Exactly.
That's the powerful synthesis here. The marriage was incredibly resilient under pressure. But resilience doesn't equal sustainability.
That's a great way to put it.
The fact that the ultimate public validation, the Lifetime Award, and the successful resolution of their primary family conflict both preceded the filing suggests that the problem wasn't external survival, but internal purpose.
It makes the quote from the 2025 BravoCon speech even more weighted. Thank you for surviving. He survived the gauntlet only to realize that surviving the gauntlet might have been the only thing holding them together.
And this final layer of irony prepares us perfectly for the final section, connecting the end of the marriage to Kandi's broader career and personal repositioning.
The divorce filing is not an isolated event. It is the culmination of a series of monumental strategic life changes Kandi Burruss initiated throughout 2024. We have to connect the end of the marriage to the end of her primary career anchor, her departure from the Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Her decision to leave RHOA, announced in February 2024, was pivotal. I mean, she had been on the show for 14 seasons.
14 seasons?
It made her one of the longest-serving and most successful housewives in the franchise's history. That kind of tenure defines one's entire adult public life.
And she clearly articulated her reasons for leaving at the 2024 Grammy Awards. She noted that the show had allowed us to sit around for a little too long.
Mm-hmm.
This points to a frustration with stagnation and a desire to reclaim agency and time for new, higher-level endeavors. She spoke of needing time for nice, big projects coming soon.
The departure from RHOA was the first massive cut she made. She was shedding the structure that had governed her life, her fame, and crucially her marriage for over a decade.
The marriage was so inextricably linked to the RHOA matrix, wasn't it? It was the mechanism through which Todd gained visibility, the basis for their spin-offs, and the source of the drama, like Mama Joyce, that they constantly battled.
So when she steps away from RHOA, she is stepping away from the need to constantly feed her private life into the public content machine.
She's shedding the need for the partnership to operate as a televised entity.
Now let's analyze the language in her divorce statement again, this time through the lens of that career shift. She states she is entering a new chapter, pouring into my work and focusing on my own growth.
This language is so consistent. It creates a powerful three-pronged narrative of transformation in 2024. First, she jettisons her 14-season career anchor, RHOA.
Right.
Second, she undergoes a physical transformation with the noted weight loss. And third, she files for divorce from her husband of 11 years.
This systemic shift suggests that Kandi had a clear vision for her individual future that simply did not include the old framework. The marriage, having served its purpose in building their joint empire and weathering the RHOA storm, may have reached its structural limit when she decided to pursue a singular, non-televised path of growth.
So the marriage dissolution appears to be the final necessary act in a broader strategy to reclaim her time, focus, and energy. If RHOA was allowing them to sit around too long, perhaps the marriage, with all its demands of co-management and co-parenting, was also becoming a source of professional and personal deceleration for her.
And this leads us to the critical, enduring question for you, the listener, and for the industry. What does this entire shift mean for the future content creation centered on their family and their joint businesses?
The entire ecosystem of spin-offs, from the restaurant drama to the family life series, was anchored by the existence of the Kandi and Todd brand unit. Now that the unit is dissolved, what becomes of the content?
They face a severe branding dilemma. The businesses are branded based on the Burruss-Tucker family unit. The separation necessitates either an incredibly skillful continuation of co-branded content, which is a rarity post-divorce, or a total pivot.
And if Kandi is truly stepping into a phase of singular focus, she might pivot her brand entirely away from the domestic and towards her musical roots, her production ventures, or other large-scale projects she alluded to.
This financial restructuring means they must figure out how to successfully co-manage professional enterprises without the benefit of marital intimacy. And this is where their early history, Todd's background as a production manager and Kandi's history as a shrewd businesswoman, will be severely tested.
Yeah.
They have to treat each other as difficult, high-stakes business partners rather than spouses.
The overall synthesis here is that the partnership survived external wars, but the end of the RHOA chapter, that 14-season scaffolding, allowed Kandi the space and the strategic imperative to prioritize individual growth over marital continuity.
The professional divorce precedes and informs the personal divorce.
And that transition from a reality star whose life is content to a CEO whose focus is pure business is the defining, sophisticated move of Kandi's entire career, even if it comes at a profound personal cost. So we've concluded an incredibly detailed deep dive into the separation of Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker. It's clear this is far more than a simple celebrity divorce. It's a systemic dissolution of a media and business conglomerate.
Our analysis really highlighted three major complexities. First, the profound, almost unbelievable public-private contradiction, where the divorce filing came so shortly after a declaration of mutual survival and a major industry award at BravoCon 2025.
Right.
This forces us to reevaluate the sincerity of public performances in the reality TV world.
Second, we examine the immense complexity of disentangling their blended family of 4 children alongside multiple high-value operational business ventures, from the logistics of the trucking company to the highly branded intellectual property of the soul food chain. I mean, their separation is a multi-layered legal and financial puzzle.
And third, we noted the powerful irony of the Mama Joyce conflict. The relationship endured a decade of brutal public family criticism, a crucible that should have destroyed them, only to dissolve shortly after they finally achieved public and private reconciliation with Kandi's mother.
Survival of external pressure did not equate to internal strength.
Exactly.
This deep dive shows how every piece of seemingly simple headline news is layered with intricate timelines, business mandates, and profound psychological contradictions.
And the knowledge application here means realizing that for some power couples, particularly those monetized by reality television, the survival of the business partnership often requires the continuation of the marriage. But once the financial imperative shifts, the personal relationship may have no intrinsic foundation left to support it.
So this leaves you, the listener, with a final provocative thought to mull over. The source material heavily implies that the relationship survived years of intense public pressure and scrutiny, only to end shortly after one of its biggest public validations. If a relationship conquers all the external critics and achieves peace with its loudest opponent and still fails, what does that teach us about the difference between fighting for a marriage and maintaining its internal strength?
What is the cost of constantly surviving under the microscope, and when does the external pressure stop masking the internal realities? Something for you to ponder until our next deep dive.
We'll see you then.